Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Dance Teacher Potential channel. We are here today with a super important topic that every single teacher is going to have to continue to learn and evolve for the rest of their teaching career. So, the importance of giving a good, effective correction is essential for your growth as a teacher and your work in the classroom. Corrections are given constantly every day, all the time to dancers because dance is one of those things that you continue to improve. Every single day, there's a little bit more of this that you can do, more focus on another part of your body or on another skill that you're trying to build. And our job as teachers is figuring out how, when we're going to say things to our students that our students are going to actually listen and put into their bodies. You know, we talk a lot in Dance Teacher Potential about looking at the age of the student that you have in front of you. So definitely corrections need to be geared towards the vocabulary and the world of the student's age and culture and things that surround them so that that makes sense, that they click basically in their little brains so that you capture their attention. And then once you give that correction, you need to also wait and see if it made sense. The correction is not for you, the correction is for them. So you need to be clear, be fun, be excited, be loving. Like there's so many ways to give a correction so that the students start connecting with you and wanting and then understanding in their little bodies exactly what is it that you're saying at that moment. There are general corrections. What if you see the entire group is doing something that is absolutely going the wrong way? And then there are specific corrections where you also need to be very careful how you talk to them. Um, if you have a sensitive student, or the way you say it, so that it makes sense. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, I think you totally hit the nail on the head when you said wait. Like, give them time to digest it and repeat the same correction over and over until it clicks one day, because not everything clicks right away, especially in tiny bodies, because they're trying to figure out what is their body and what is my glute or what is my ab or what is my calf, you know? So I think really just harping on that correction constantly with all of your students, right? Because we want them to improve, and the only way to get them to improve is through corrections and getting them to understand how to get better. Um, you can be imaginative with your corrections. Like, for instance, if I'm trying to get them to pull up their stomachs, instead of saying sucking in, which is a clear an obvious thing for a lot of people because you're like, "Ugh, I know exactly what to do when you tell me to suck in." Um, but then you become out of breath. So the goal is to not suck in your stomach, but the goal is to lift up your abdominals. But, a 10-year-old is not going to understand how to do that. So I say that place where your zipper is, pretend you're zipping up a really tight pair of pants from when you were 8 years old. And what would that feel like? Or take your belly button and lift it up to your nose.
Mhm,
Just finding new ways to say the same thing in
mhm,
hopes that it'll click. Or if I want them to engage their glutes, instead of saying squeeze your butt, because then again, it becomes that tailbone underneath the body thing or a curvature of the back. Um, I'll do like squeeze. If you have a sour candy in your mouth, what kind of face would you make? And they'd scrunch up their face like this. And I'm saying, now pretend your tushy ate a sour candy and their glutes would engage like this. Or imagine you had a fire under your tushy. Don't get burnt by the fire. Just little ways to, even with the older kids, those images
mhm.
work, because you know exactly what I'm talking about in
Yeah.
that moment.
Hmm. Yeah, imagery, definitely. You have to play with the imagery to see if it's making sense. Um, and then making a turn if it's not working,
Hmm.
making a
Hmm.
turn if it's been a month that you've been saying it and it's not working, or pausing for a moment. You know, we were talking about the flow of class, and you don't need to pause all the time, all class, to explain things. But if there is one thing that they are not understanding, a certain correction, then you take a stab of it one day and you're like, okay, stop, look in the mirror, you give the imagery, like the things that you were saying, and you kind of play with it and see if it's making sense. And you'll
Hmm.
see it makes sense for a few of them, and you're like, okay, we're in the right correction. But if you see it making sense to most of them, you're like, then you try something different and you're like, what about, what about? And so in your creativity, because you as a teacher understand what you want them to do, you,
Right.
how can I make this happen? And then you see their little bodies connect, so that the next
Hmm.
time when you're in class, you say sour candy butt or whatever is it that you want to
Hmm.
say, and
Hmm.
they start remembering that correction, that lesson of that other day, and slowly with repetitions, their little bodies will absorb the correction and you can continue to progress
Right.
the skill.
I also think it's important to know what you are trying to get across.
Mhm.
And like, is it musicality? Is it quality? Is it the technique? Is it anatomy? Is it like, what are you trying to say? And I think sometimes if you're not clear exactly what you want, or if there's too many things happening,
Mm.
you're like, I'm trying to focus on the musicality and the turnout and this all at the same time. It's going to be
Yeah.
overwhelmed in their brains. They're going to get, ugh,
Yeah, there's so
and
much also, it's there's no clarity.
they're,
So we
yeah.
talked a lot about breaking down everything when you're giving it
Hmm.
to them, because if not, it makes no sense in their little bodies or in their little worlds, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even something small is like, I want you to just press your pinky toe against the floor,
Mhm.
something so minute can make
Mhm.
the world of a difference.
Yeah, and
I
if
don't
you're
know.
looking at musicality, you could present different rhythms to them so that they understand what you're trying to say, for
Yeah.
sure. Because
Yeah.
it could be a thing of quality with the music, or it can be completely like an anatomical thing that you have to
Hmm.
understand to
Hmm.
then turn, or to kick a leg, or things like that,
Right.
for sure.
And think about like if you've ever walked out of class and when you were younger and like I got zero corrections that class. Like, what am I doing? Because also when you're younger, you don't know how to correct yourself.
Yes.
You're just dancing, you're just taking the class. And so it's like if the teacher's not correcting me, I kind of know what I'm doing and I'm going through the motions and I'm having a good time, but I don't really know how to like enhance myself. And
Yeah.
so it's like, why didn't the teacher give me a correction? Was I doing a good job? Was I doing a bad job?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It can also become like an emotional thing,
100%.
you know?
Yes. And there's also this like idea of the inspiration of class, like what are we working all towards? We're not just doing this exercise to go through the exercise. We're doing this exercise to, like, there's some inspiration about beauty or elegance or power or fun or rhythm or creative beings. You know, I feel like every single exercise in a class, be it ballet or jazz or something, has so much to give out in the little soul. And so it's like, what kind of temperature you're putting in the classroom when you're like
Hmm.
giving the work to them,
Hmm.
for sure. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we have time for today. We'll be back next week for another tip. If you want us to talk about anything, let us know. We'd be more than happy. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure to check us out, like, and let us know that we're doing a good job or what you think we could be doing differently. And that's all from us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.